Luffy versus Kizaru. It is officially completed in the anime. They fleshed out the fight, and Toei did a phenomenal job with the fight. And of course, I'm referencing round one because technically there was sort of a round two. It kind of was all over the place. It wasn't really a 1v1. It was Kizaru and Saturn, and then Sanji was there too. He blocked some stuff, and then the Gorosei came, but then at the same time, Kizaru had already completed his objective, so he wasn't really, it's just all over the place. So I am specifically talking about Luffy versus Kizaru's 1v1. It wasn't actually that long of a fight when you look at it, even with Toei fleshing it out a lot more, but I think that this fight is so important for Luffy's character, for his growth, his development, comparing what happened at Egghead to what happened at Sabaody, because the situation, it was a complete 180. I think that this rematch was perfectly executed and perfectly showcased Luffy's growth. This has been a long awaited rematch. If you look at the actual story, it wasn't actually that long of a time. It was a little bit over 2 years, but for fans, oh nah, it was way longer than that. They had been waiting for this rematch for over 15 years, and to put that into perspective, when that happened, I was 6 years old. Yeah, you feel old, don't you? And I don't know about y'all, but when I was catching up on One Piece, when I was in Dressrosa with opening 17, oh, I thought for sure we were boxing the Admirals. Ha! They clickbaited us on that one. This rematch was built up so long, and it was definitely worth the wait. I love it whenever Oda reintroduces characters to the story and the same outcome. It doesn't happen twice. For example, Rob Lucci in his return, yes, he did go against Luffy again. Granted, Luffy, you know, it wasn't as clean as a fight as the first one. Gear 5th Luffy definitely destroyed Awakened Lucci. I'm not gonna do Lucci too dirty because he definitely was still able to walk, and you know, it wasn't like he was completely out of the fight. He just had a bandage here and there, right? We saw what he did against the Seraphim. But I also love how his main matchup in Egghead, it's not Luffy, it's Zoro, and they've been going back and forth the past couple episodes. I think that Zoro said it best. If this is all the strength that Lucci has, then he isn't worth fighting the captain. Once again, showcasing how far the Straw Hats have come, since in the past, Lucci, he would have been somebody that Luffy had to take care of, and Luffy doesn't even have to worry about him anymore because Zoro is strong enough to handle him. In this interaction, I love how Luffy versus Kizaru, Luffy was on demon time, it was on his side. Typically in his fights, Luffy, he's really goofy, really talkative. You know, whenever he gets into it, especially Gear 5th, that's a whole nother level of goofy. And there was some of that in their fight. I'll talk about that a little bit later. But in the beginning, nah, the moment that Luffy saw Kizaru standing there, he charged up his conquerors, right? Advanced the super kick, and it was on sight. Just straight impact feet. Somebody that is as fast as Kizaru, he was on him like white on rice. He had to block. He couldn't even evade the attack. When I first saw it, I'm not gonna lie, I was shocked. Y'all gotta see my reaction. Yeah, he's like, fuck all that talking. Coda hit shit in Conquerors, baby. He said, nah, hey, no, we ain't talking. And Luffy not saying anything here is just so fitting because round one back at Sabaody, it was a completely different interaction. And I think that that fight between the two, which, like I said, wasn't really a fight, it was more of a slaughter. I think that it's probably a top 5, maybe even top 3 moment for Luffy's character. But if you guys have made it this far into the video and are enjoying the content, let me know by leaving a like, subscribing to the channel, and hitting the notification bell so you guys never miss out on a new video. I put out different One Piece content almost each and every day. Sabaody was such a big deal because it was the first time that we ever got a statement about the Straw Hats being defeated, and they've been defeated plenty of times before. Mihawk, Enel at Water 7, I could go on, but this is the first time that they lost to this magnitude. And I'm going to loosely quote what was said, but it was stated on this day, the pirate crew led by Captain Monkey D. Luffy of the Straw Hat Pirates was utterly defeated. The only other time I can recall something like this happening was when Shanks bent Kid over, and well, we know what happened to him. The Straw Hats had never experienced humble pie so quickly like this because they were on a high. They had just defeated 2 warlords. They're called the Supernova. Everybody on the crew has bounties. They made it to the halfway point of the Grand Line. They could see the other half, the One Piece. It's in sight. Different outsiders, they knew who the Straw Hats were. They feared them. So yeah, you would think with all this success that the Straw Hats, that they're going to the New World and it's going to be on PG King. Nah, they were very naive because they had never experienced what was going to happen. At least they had not experienced the world like they thought they did, because so far the Straw Hats had overcome every opponent that they had faced. And Kizaru, well, everything that happened here was the first time they faced someone they couldn't overcome. It took everyone just to be able to defeat one pacifista, and then, well, when it rains it pours because another pacifista showed up. Then Senamaru was there, Kizaru was there. Shoot, they were in hell. Experiencing this defeat was really monumental for the Straw Hats for sure, because everyone wanted to get stronger, not just to be able to achieve their own dreams, but for Luffy's too. He needs a strong crew if he's going to become king of the pirates. But I think that this experience, like I said, it was already bad for the Straw Hats, but I think it was specifically worse on Luffy. Hence why he was the last one to be sent away, and why we spent most of the time seeing his reaction to losing his crew. Luffy tried his best. He was in gear second, trying to speed away to save everyone, and it didn't matter because all the strength that he had, it wasn't enough, and he lost everyone right before his eyes. And obviously, as readers, we knew they weren't dead and that Kuma, he was doing it for their own good. But if we were in Luffy's shoes at that moment, oh yeah, for sure, we're assuming the worst. Just think about it like this, that you're the captain, you're the individual that everyone looks to whenever the situation is dire, when it's grim, where there's a sense of unease. The captain, they're meant to be a stabilizing force so that whenever the crew, they're feeling this uncertainty, they can just look at him, look at the captain, and know that everything is going to be all right. And unfortunately, in this situation, Luffy wasn't strong enough to guarantee everyone's safety, which is why Sabaody is so beautiful, because all of his friends went away and Luffy was powerless to do anything to prevent that. Hence why round 2 at Egghead between Luffy and Kizaru, it's so dope. The Straw Hats, they're 100 times stronger than before, and the same thing that happened at Sabaody, well, it's not going to happen again. What appeared to be someone that was out of reach, someone that they could not overcome, they've now caught up all the training, all the hard work. They no longer have to run, and they're able to compete against anyone in the series. Even though it wasn't that long of a fight, I still love that Luffy fought against Kizaru 1v1 because it showcased that he's strong enough to be able to go toe to toe with someone he couldn't do before, and that just showcases his growth and progression. Now, the argument between who's stronger, is it Luffy, is it Kizaru, I'm gonna be honest, I don't care, because you can make the argument that Luffy in his gear 5th, that he was kind of goofing off, clowning around, he wasn't necessarily taking the entire fight seriously, and then after a clean hit with the star gun, gotta give him credit there, the fight, it ended. Yes, all of that did happen. You could also make the argument for Kizaru. He was clearly going after Vegapunk and was dismissing Luffy a lot of the fight, and after taking that hit, well, if you compare how Luffy and Kizaru look, well, Kizaru, he didn't have a scratch on him, and Luffy looked like he just fought for like 50 days. And then there's also the whole mental nerve thing of Kizaru having to be the individual to kill his best friend. And so I think a lot of people, they focus a little bit too much on winners and losers here and sort of miss the importance of the fight. I think that the whole point of this interaction was to showcase that Luffy had grown since Sabaody, and instead of being defeated so easily like he was in the past, he is now able to go against characters like Kizaru and, you know, beyond their strength in a 1v1 and still be able to hold his own. But yeah, let me know how you guys felt about Luffy versus Kizaru in the comment section below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you guys never miss out on a new video. Follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok is on the screen and in the description below. And don't forget to unleash your potential.